ça en fait qui est pour ça. Souvent je le fais même sur la question dit j'avais évidemment je l'avais pas vu en fait. À quel moment je suis passé ouais.
Oh, je crois que ça bouge là. Ça bouge hein.
Comment il s'appelle? Ouais, Tulu, gentil. Parfait, sincèrement top. Vas-y, mais continue à marcher. Putain, mais c'est la réussite. Elle l'a fait exprès. C'est qui devant là? C'est qui devant lui là? Avec son téléphone, c'est sympa.
You're at the same table. I know.
Bonjour. Ça va? On est ensemble? Ça va? Je vous en prie. So, happy to have you here. And I'm very happy to have this roundtable today dedicated to artificial intelligence, and especially after this summit we organized in February. And I want to thank you because
C'est mieux, hein? Finish. Tu l'as dit de couper? pas mal quand même.
C'est un peu mieux.
Ouais. On n'a pas de contre-jour.
C'est quoi le prochain?
Je crois que c'est la prise de parole. À moins que. On a un truc à 17h, voilà.
Et on était quoi sur... C'était quoi cette table ronde?
16h30, c'est ce qu'on vient de faire. Enfin, finalement, c'est et après, c'est 17h, mais c'est hors presse. Ah, si,
16h30.
Oui, c'est hors presse. Et 18h30.
Il reste le discours.
Ouais. Je pense, hein. Tu peux arrêter le mail.
for foreign investment. I'm the chairman also of Business France, which is one of the national agencies which is organizing this amazing event with the help of everyone, under the Secretary General, Stéphane Mousset, which I want to thank for tonight. Thank you so much to all of you to be in excess of 185 CEOs being present. It's the 8th edition, so I'm now a veteran because in my 8th editions in this amazing event. It's a privilege to be here also and welcome you with Christophe Le Ribaud, the president of the Établissement Public de Versailles. Versailles is an extraordinary place where we welcome up to 8-9 million people every year. And by the way, I want to mention to our American friend that next year we're going to celebrate the 250 years of the US independence. And at the time, Versailles was the place where we really supported this independence, so much that we're going actually to create a special exhibit. I don't know where is Christophe, and for this exhibit, any of you in the rooms which want to support this Franco-US transatlantic relationship will be welcome. We're here because we celebrate France, we celebrate Europe, but also because we want to celebrate on the journey that we had with the Olympic Games. But prior any further ado, I'm going to give you a small 1-minute TV show, and then we may have a surprise. Let's go for the show.
In France, when we do something, it often ends up iconic. This radio antenna, for example, iconic. Or a gift to a friend, iconic. A little something for breakfast, iconic. When we aim high, when we go deep. When we make hearts beat faster, and when we make them beat again. When we search for something, and when we find it. When we triumph, even when we stumble. Iconic. When we get people moving, when we get the world moving. Iconic. Why? Because we do things our way. Stylish, bold, exploring, innovating, carrying our history and values into the future. Make it iconic. Choose France.
Thank you. I couldn't dream of a better person to illustrate what iconic means, being French, having essentially won 5 times the Olympic medals. So I invite you to welcome and to give a big round of applause to Mr. Teddy Riner.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly honored to be here with you today. It's not every day that a judoka speaks in front of international investors. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. France is a country on the move in every field: art, cinema, industry, sport, gastronomy. We see creativity and bold ideas, from lab to startups, from factories to film sets. French talent is everywhere. What I've learned on the tatami: discipline, perseverance, teamwork. I also see in French entrepreneurs, scientists, and creators. They are driven, innovative, and ready to build the future. They just need the right partners to go further. Choosing France is not only a smart investment. It's a decision to join a country that believes in talent, in ambition, and in progress. A country that supports youth, values, sustainability, and never stop reinventing itself. Together, we can make it happen. Together, we can make it iconic. Be ready, France is ready. Are you? Thank you.
So we could talk at length for the fact that for the 6th consecutive year we have been the most attractive country in Europe. We could talk at length about all the assets, but there is no one better than 3 unique CEOs which are going to basically be challenged by some questioning. On that note, I would like to invite my dear Adair Fox-Martins, the CEO of Equinix, to join me on stage. Adair. I would like to invite also the CEO of Envision, Lei Zhang, to join us on stage. And finally, my dear Evan Spiegel, the founder of Snapchat, being based in LA, to join us also on stage. So you have been all investing for the last years, and I would like just that better to give us the classical answers. We get in more from each of you about why you did it, but I may start with you. Try to pitch very briefly who you are, what you do, because you may not be known by everyone yet. And once you did this, give us the 2-3 investments you've done, and what are the fundamental reasons why you've done that. Maybe I let you go.
So my name is Lei Zhang. I'm the founder and CEO of Envision. Envision is a global green technology company, and we are the global champion for wind turbines, for green hydrogen equipment productions, and also for AI energy, and also we are global leader for energy storage and battery. So last time during the COVID, we announced 1.5 billion euro investment in France, in northern part, in a place called Douai. We are going to build a gigafactory making battery for Renault. And after 4 years, the factory has been in operation, and we are increased 1,000 jobs, direct jobs. Plus that, normally automotive industry have 4,000 indirect jobs. So supply chain, construction, cleaning, restaurant. So we bring a lot with our partner. In particular, most important thing is the most best-selling EV in France today, Renault R5, is using our battery, made in France. We are helping Renault R5 to be the best-selling car in France, also top sales car in Europe. And I was told it is the car of the year. I feel very fulfilled if I can make this.
So essentially, you were born in Shanghai, you grew up out there, you built a giant. I know you're taking all jobs, bring back the capital back in China. So tell me what is positive about the fact what you do here, what is unique, and how our buddies from Mr. Vercors and others are still going to survive, learn from you, maybe teach you something, and help France to continue to be a leading country on attractiveness.
You know, I'm the entrepreneur. There's no boundary for entrepreneurs. France is really making me feel it's home for entrepreneurship. Yes, the entrepreneur world is coming from here. So this kind of a business environment, and if you see, our judo champion, this kind of spirit, strong mental strength, is stay pioneering, stay fashion, stay front. This kind of spirit and environment make me very excited to be here, which is attracting me emotionally, which is very important.
So, Lei, we invite you to put more billions of dollars in France, create more jobs, more capital, and that's very important, right? Yeah. On that note, let me introduce actually to you, my dear Adair Fox-Martin, Irish. You run basically Equinix. Tell us a little more.
Hi. Thank you very much. Thanks for this wonderful platform to share the story of Equinix. Equinix is a global data center company. Today we have 270 data centers in 74 cities across 35 countries. 64% of our customers operate in all 3 regions with us. So we help companies navigate their way to new markets using our infrastructure. We are 26 years old as a company, and for many of our customers, it is the fact that we are global and reliable in terms of the infrastructure that we provide that is the reason why they choose us. But there's a second part to the story. And the second part is the part around being a neutral connector of businesses and people. So within our data centers, we have almost 500 million connections between businesses. Businesses who want to share information, businesses who want to do business with each other. Almost like, think of us like the airport of the internet. So you fly into Charles de Gaulle on Air France, and then you swap and you're sent off on KLM to somewhere else. We do that for data packages, millions of them every minute, right across the internet.
But Adair told me that we're actually behind the curve in France. We are kind of under-indexed out of the 270 data centers. Oh. Tell us why. But tell us also why you're now deploying far more capital quickly.
Yeah, well, in terms of under-indexed, I might disagree with you there. So we have been investing in France for 25 years. We've just literally passed a quarter of a century investment in France. And today we are the largest data center operator in France with 11 data centers here. But it's less about that infrastructure. It's what happens when that infrastructure is enabled in an environment. First of all, 94% of the CAC 40 companies in France use our facilities to run their business. 12% of France's GDP is attributable to the companies who use our data centers to run their business. So France is a very important market for us, and so let me get to why we've invested here and why we will continue.
Accelerate also.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of investment here, there's a number of reasons that I think that differentiate France. First of all, the opportunity for France to be the AI infrastructure hub for Europe. I think that's super exciting and something that excites us in terms of potential. Secondly, I would like to call out the low carbon energy availability, because I think all of us discuss the importance of energy as an input into this economy. Thirdly, a resilient grid. So a huge thank you to RTE for the partnership that we have had with them over the years. But that resilient grid ensures that you're able to continually to deliver your service. And then just attractive economics around companies that are willing to innovate and invest here. So we're very excited by President Macron's announcement around 35 turnkey sites and are actively engaged in a process to win our first couple of those and to build bolder here in France.
Thank you there. So we got the key components, we built basically the infrastructure, and then we need to have some very cool content, leveraging at best French creativity. And that's where even you basically came on board. You are back here in 2016. We had the privilege this morning to inaugurate your new offices. Can you tell us more about Snapchat and what you do here, especially?
Well, it's such an honor to be here in such a beautiful place. I never imagined in my life I would be speaking here in Versailles. It's amazing. So today we now reach 26 million Snapchatters in France. I think that's about half the smartphone population. Certainly most young people are using the service to express themselves, communicate with their friends and family. And I've always really loved France. I started coming here when I was very young. But at the time, back in 2016, when we opened our first office, the perception of France and the business community in France was not what it was today. And in fact, I had the privilege to meet President Hollande at the time, and I said, "Do you have any advice? I want to come open our office in France." And he said, "Yes, pay your taxes." And I said, it's great advice, and I took it home. I said to our team, we should pay our taxes in France. So we created a different...
You opened the office or not?
What's that?
You opened the office.
We opened the office, and we structured our business to pay our taxes in France instead of these fancy tech tax structures.
So he was right.
So he was correct. And since then, we've had an amazing time growing our team. And I think for us, what makes France so special is the combination of art and very strong engineering. And for us, those are the two critical inputs into creativity and into innovation. And so we opened here the first augmented reality studio, where we work with amazing places like here in Versailles. We're launching a new augmented reality experience in the gardens of Versailles this summer, but also the Louvre and other Château de Chantilly, amazing cultural institutions and students here in France to teach them how to build augmented reality experiences.
No, thank you to all three to basically explain that. Now, tell me how, after 8 years, in excess of 220 investment, in excess of close to $100 billion investment, right? No, actually, I'm making a mistake. $70 billion investment. what we need to do to make sure that 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, when we look back, we continue to have the same attractiveness that we have right now. So how should we position France? Give us a tip of advice. B?
I see there's a huge potential to combining AI with the energy grid. So, Europe is 80% oil and gas from outside Europe. Renewable and the nuclear is the only solutions. So, but renewable has been already very cost competitive, but introduce volatility, intermittency. What's happened to Spain grid is an example. So how can we actually create AI and IoT-led modern grid to really orchestrating energy system, storage, and AI data center, or with a fast charging facility? This is going to be a tremendous new energy system, not only solving the challenge, but also unlock the huge potential of renewables and the nucleus. Think about AI. The end of game of AI is about energy. So we need as much as energy into the system. Think about industrial revolution. 2,000 years before, GDP, global GDP only grow 3 times because for 2,000 years, our energy usage is only grow 3 times. After industrialization, our global economy grow 100 times. Why? Because we use 100 times energy. Today's AI bottleneck already revealed the importance of future energy system. So we should do something on that.
So Lei, what you're saying is that our unique assets, being essentially this decarbonated energy, our ability to deliver a robust, solid, full-terrain grid will incite you to basically do investment. Then my questions in my job is to say how the great, if not fat, gross margin that you're going to do, thanks to that, serving the French and the European market, how are you going to reinvest that in France? So where you see the 2 or 3 areas to do so, but don't answer right now. Think about it. I'm cool tonight. And let me ask Eder what we should do 8 years from now to basically continue on the track and the momentum we have.
So, energy is obviously a huge issue. And, for us, we've been investing extensively in PPAs so that we could deliver our data center services using sustainable energy. So I would love that context of the grid that Evan described. In terms of, for me, what I would love to see, when you think about data centers, there is a physicality to a data center in terms of the build process. And there are a whole range of steps that happen from the time that you break ground to the time that you're ready for service for a customer. And for me, that means there's a journey from deploying capital to having an asset that can be saleable. And I would love the opportunity to shorten that path from capital deployment to saleable capacity.
But looking at us in your 25 years of history, it looks that we're doing real progresses, right? We give construction permits in a much quicker manner.
Yep.
We give you, just mentioned, 35 sites ready to do. What else can we do? It's about speed, it's about coordination, it's about to do that more on a European level?
Yes, I think it's about zooming out and looking at the process from the perspective of the person who's receiving it, rather than all of the multiple different agencies that one has to navigate. So if there's a conductor of the orchestra, if there's a facilitator, a concierge of this process that can speed it up for us, then that will help shorten the path between the deployment of capital and available capacity that makes a difference to businesses in France.
So I have many of my ministers, which are all bright and dedicated to that. I'm sure they're taking on board this amazing challenge. But again, I believe we're already delivering. Even, I just want to do only a small AR studio with a new headquarters. We want to be the center of the world. We want to take over when we go after LA. Hollywood's right on creativities. Look at what we do in Cannes. So where we need to move in terms with the classical aggressive stance and maybe the snobbish French way of doing things, how we can be the best on this one? Give me a little for my money, if I may say.
Well, I think France has many strategic advantages, but in terms of the changes that the world is going through right now, and I think, a general move towards deglobalization, I think the world is moving to a place that will be much more regionalized. And so it's very, very important that France, especially as the only nuclear power in Europe, really takes a leadership role at the European level to further develop the single market. And I think this is one of the most important things France can do for itself, but also for Europe. And so I think the commitment to the European single market and an active leadership role there will be very important for the future of Europe and for France.
That makes sense. I gave you some time to think about the question I asked you, right? Which is how you, being a citizen of the world, investing in France, how you will give back to the country that you invest, where you're putting some investments, right? So what is your view? What could be this Franco-China relationship or European-China relationship on a balanced way?
I'm thinking about Africa. So I'm not thinking about moving money back home. I'm thinking about Africa. Think about the big picture. I want to put my money in Africa, in Sahara Desert. So that's my dream. I'm seeing the tremendous energy in Sahara. And we are able to build this net zero energy system in Sahara at almost zero cost of energy. So it's close to Mediterranean. You can trade in your AI data centers there. You can desalinate water, seawater, and make green hydrogen, and also wide green electricity to Spain, to France. So that's something is extremely exciting me. So
you want to sell more Chinese solar panel and get my nuclear energy obsolete?
No, I think nuclear energy is as important as renewables. It's a stabilizer for energy system. But renewable energy is going to be much cheaper. This is going to compensate in a modern energy system. They are going to match itself very well, apart from oil and gas.
Very good. Now, just as a closing comment, now that we're waiting for presidents to join us in a minute, what would be the compelling 1, 2, 3 reasons, ID, that you have been investing, but now you're going to reinvest in the years to come? Give me another run at that. There?
Ease of doing business, availability of energy, and shortening that path.
Shortening the path from capital deployment to making the capacity available to your clients, right? Even?
Amazing culture, unique talent, and rule of law.
And rule?
Rule of law.
Rule of law. Very good. Lei?
Great ecosystem, great ingredients. This is think about our project. We want our project finance of the year with 8 French banks in 2023 for this dual project. And then we build a relationship with EDF, with Total, with NG, with Air Liquide on multiple things. So that's, I think, it's great ecosystem. So which make us beyond a project approach. We think about more corporate long-term strategy.
Very good. Thank you for that. At this stage, I would love to have a sign of someone telling me if my president is in a car, is in a meeting, is on the way. So, Axel, can you tell us where we are on timing? We've got another 5 minutes. Does anyone wants to ask questions out there in the crowd? If not, even tell us more about how many people you've got here, what type of the talent you have, and what are the concrete products that you're going to deliver.
Yeah, I think now we have about 150 people here in France across lots of different disciplines, including engineering, of course, and some of even our more advanced efforts around the brain-computer interface, which is how we're thinking people may want to control augmented reality glasses in the future. So some of our big advanced tech investments are here in France, and the team is doing amazing work.
And that's 150 out of how many you got worldwide?
I think now about 5,000 worldwide.
Wow. So that's totally under-indexed, right? So what can we do to bring a lot more people here?
I think over time, France will naturally attract more investment from SNAP because of the unique talent, as I mentioned, and the incredible creativity and culture of teamwork here that we have developed. So our team already told me our new office is too small, so I think this is a good sign for the future.
Very good. There, What else? So you basically have 11 sites. You plan to do how many in the next, in the foreseeable future?
We don't have numbers yet. As I said, we're in process to understand, how those 35 turnkey sites can be made available. And I stand by ready with capital, with skills, with energy, passion, and commitment to the communities that we build in order to deliver.
You've got 11 in France, but as I know as a fact, you've got a lot more in England or in Germany, right?
No, I think France is right up there. France is right up there. Okay.
Very good. After 1.5 million in 2025, when is coming the 1.5 billion?
So the challenge we are seeing is tremendous for decarbonization. But the biggest challenge creates biggest opportunity, investment opportunity. We see the huge potential for the European new AI energy grid. This is going to be more than 1.5 billion. So I'm sure.
So at that stage, I can continue, but I can also ask you for some questions. Because now I need to find an extra 5 minutes as was just told, right? So I don't do that as a work in my life, but I'm sure that maybe Xavier will have a questions, or maybe Sophie Vidas-Leca, which is the head of the CCEF, will have a questions. Any questions? Can we give her microphones? I need someone asking her questions. If not, I can have other questions. Mr. Eric Lombard, my Minister of Finance, maybe you want to take the floor? He will hate me on that one. Yes, this is Dominique Delport, Arduino. Hello, Dominique.
Question for Ivan and you guys regarding AI. What should be the positioning? We know the big announcement, Middle East wants its role in that crusade for AI. Data centers are critical, low carbon energy as well. But for you, Evan, looking at LLM battle, we've got Mistral in front, there's all these new announcements literally every week. And since few months now, we see that company struggled to integrate AI. What would be the advice to the European and international investor regarding AI in their company and how it will transform every business and every, I would say, area of society as well?
So you're essentially asking what is the level of AI integrations that each of our three speakers are putting in their own company. So maybe can you kind of tell us about that? How much AI have been integrated? What is the process? Lee?
So we actually putting huge effort on the AI for physics. Think about what is biggest AI usage is a weather system. We want to be the DeepSeek in weather. This huge modeling, because people in the past using the supercomputing for statistics, but deep learning make the AI weather big model is going to be super. We see we are able to forecast weather beyond 7 days with a much improved accuracy. What is future energy system? It's our future weather system. Without deep understanding on the weather pattern change, you cannot manage your energy system. So that's the area we are putting lots of focus for AI weather model.
And where else? That's critical for you because you do wind turbine, right? But where else you put AI?
Also, we make AI grid. So think about today's grid is the conventional grid you actually control with a minute level simulation. But the future grid is going to be more DC. It's going to be a milliseconds. Milliseconds people cannot invent. It will be leave everything to AI. So that's kind of deep sensing and AI controlling is a way for a future energy grid.
Very good. Where you put AI in your company, Ainer?
I guess I can answer that from two perspectives in terms of how we run ourselves. So obviously deploying AI capability across our data centers in order to ensure that we are using energy.
You got a budget, dedicated teams, you're redesigning the process with the AI?
Correct, right. So really looking at where we can change process with AI, but it has to have a business return. So looking at that right across every aspect of our business. And then secondly, looking at from the point of view of how we provide the services that enable companies to participate in the AI economy? I guess I would say two things. I think training is one aspect of the AI economy, and that's limited to a number of companies. But inferencing, in other words, the ability to take the outcome of those models, deploy it into your business environment in order to deliver a valuable outcome for your business, inferencing is exponentially larger.
Inferencing is exponentially larger, right?
Than the training opportunity. And that's really where we see ourselves helping customers to deploy AI-based system and process in our data centers. So that needs things like liquid cooling capabilities, which we've deployed into our existing data centers here in France too. We have our first quantum computer in a data center here in France, the first one globally. So those kind of infrastructure changes will enable companies to achieve some of the promises of AI,
Absolutely.
which I think a lot of people are probably fairly still skeptical about. But for me, I absolutely believe that this is a technology that maybe we're overestimating in the short term, but we're underestimating in the longer term.
Very good. That's a very compelling demonstration of what we can do and go. Even give me your things, and then whether or not the president will be here, I will wrap up the session so you can relax and stop or look at your phone, right? So a last statement about what you do in your company on AI.
It's nice to see you, Dominique. And I think for me, first of all, AI is existentially critical, especially here in Europe, to overcome the coming population decline. So with birth rates well below the replacement rate, I think for me, the productivity growth we see in the coming decades, a lot of that productivity growth will have to be driven by AI. And I think that's really a modern miracle, frankly. It would have been very hard to overcome that huge structural trend we're facing in our society. I think for us at Snap, we're very focused on not so much, more chips, bigger models, but how are people using AI? And for us, that means trying to help as many people as possible use it as cheaply as possible. So we've taken our own very, very large image and video models and then distilled them to run on the device, on the phone, so that anyone can use it to make images without having to pay for that, to leverage the hardware they already have in their pocket. I think longer term for us, we're very interested in migrating the interface with AI from the chatbot to glasses. Today, it feels a lot to me like the early days of social networks where people were plugging in their camera and uploading photos on the desktop. And then with mobile, social networks absolutely exploded. I think we're going to see the same thing with glasses, where we're going to see a huge transition from this chat-based interface to bringing AI into the world with you through augmented reality glasses. So that's a big investment area for us in the future.
Thank you so much. Again, I want to basically thank you all for being here. 8 years ago, when President Macron, with the team at Élysée, thought about doing the Choose France Forum, we couldn't basically imagine to achieve what has been done to date. That's essentially due to your commitment to France, to Europe, to the investment. We have to be extremely humble because we know that the times are rough outside. But let's celebrate tonight all of this achievement. And on that note, I would like to basically give back the floor to my president, that may be empty for a while. But most importantly, I want all of you to thank 3 brilliant speakers, which had no clue that they would stay on stage for 25 to 30 minutes. It was supposed to be a 5 to 10 minutes introductions. They did a great job. I want to see a big round of applause.
vraiment mettre le micro au plus près. Au plus près. Plus près de la bouche, qu'il soit vraiment... Cette moitié-là, parce qu'en fait, il y a des équipes qui font le moitié côté mur. C'est juste la partie de notre côté. Ouais. Donc, comme je disais, c'est pas sur le micro à 4 ans. Faites partir cette fois-ci. Faites lever la personne et vous nous dites de bien coller le micro pour qu'on l'entende bien. T'as déjà fait sur le micro aussi? Ok, vous voulez toutes les deux faire si vous voulez, je vous laisse. Je peux vous laisser toutes les deux faire un micro. Il y en a 3. Il y en a un ici, un au milieu, et un autre côté. Si tu veux, je peux. Je vais en donner un à Romain de l'autre côté. Si tu veux, je te laisse faire la partie au milieu. Toi, tu t'occupes de la partie.
Merci, pardon. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry to make... Please. I'm sorry to make you wait. I was, to be transparent with you, stuck in a call with President Trump and some European colleagues after his discussion with President Putin, so it's part of this hectic world. And I think it was the topic of a lot of your discussions. So I want to be very brief and answer some questions before we go all together to dinner. And so I should start by thanking our ministers, member of parliament, mayor, governors, commissioners, and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here for this new edition of Choose France. And I wanted as well to thank Teddy Riner for making it iconic. As you saw, Pascal Cany for moderating the event, and obviously all the teams of Business France. I'm very happy that today and the preparation of this Choose France, we promoted as well some key sectors, tourism, cinema, earlier today as well, very important sectors in which clearly France provided clear evidence of a leadership from Olympic Games and Notre Dame, but as well as we have this fifth Cannes Film Festival, it's clear that cinema is part of our, indeed, France 2030. And obviously you delivered a lot of investments in different fields, AI, telco, new vessels, green hydrogen, and circular economy, and so on and so on. And I don't want to here to be too long and quote all the different sectors, but this is a very complete edition where 20 billion were invested, new investments were announced, and 20 billion of AI investments as a follow-up of the summit in February. So it's a very great edition, and I want clearly to thank all those who decided to invest in our country. This is the result of a collective work during the past 8 years, where we reduced the cost of capital being invested in the country, we reduced labor costs, we provided more flexibility, we created a lot of sectorial and macroeconomics reform in order precisely to have a much more business-friendly approach. And now, at the French level, the top priority is clearly stability, in order to preserve visibility regarding tax and so on. Simplification, as we have to streamline a lot of regulation, as we are doing, by the way, to go faster for the data centers and so on. And confirmation of a decarbonization track, because we created 2.2 million jobs, and at the same time, we multiplied by 4 the CO2 reduction by simplification, good incentives, and public investment. Et bienvenue à la BCE. So I want to thank all the entrepreneurs and their, obviously, all their teams, because what you did during the past few years is absolutely incredible, and I want to thank all those who invested during this period of time, because clearly you fertilized these macroeconomic reforms. We passed on top of that some sectorial reforms. But what is of interest now is where we are and where we want to go. Clearly, the situation is not the best one today in Europe. Let's be lucid about where we stand. Because of a risk of desynchronization with the rest of the world. And in fact, if you take the past 2 to 3 years, we had to face a fierce competition coming from Southeast Asia, and especially China, for 2 reasons: level playing field, and the loopholes we have on our own regulation, but we increased a lot of constraints and regulations in a lot of sectors, and at the same time we open our markets to companies coming from this region with lower standards. And at the same time, very aggressive and efficient financing in China, creating overcapacities, and clearly jeopardizing some key industries in our market. And on the other side, we had a very aggressive policy, but it's normal. This is our interest with Inflation Reduction Act. For those who remember, I was very vocal at that time for the Europeans to synchronize with that. And now the big risk regarding tariffs, and perhaps we can revert on that during the discussion. So it creates a lot of uncertainty, a problem of level playing field for the Europeans, and a new agenda clearly that we have to deliver. Everything was written regarding this situation. We had the Letta report, the Draghi report, and the Commission started to react. But now everything is about the execution and the speed and scale, if I may say, of our reaction. We have to go fast and we have to do big if we want to be back in the race. And for me, it's part of the top priority we have. First, simplification. We had first simplification, thank you, Mr. Vice President, for this agenda. But clearly we are very aligned now with Chancellor Merz and some other colleagues to go much faster, and CS-DDD and some other regulations has not just to be postponed for 1 year, but put out of the table. Otherwise, and I'm not even speaking about the content, I'm just speaking about how to resynchronize with the US and the rest of the world. Otherwise, there is no chance regarding the situation if we say we will do it in 12, 18, 24 months, because in your business plan you will just price the new regulation and I will not change your behavior and your assessment. So simplification, we need a series of simplifications on our agenda, number one. Second, which is close to simplification, this is a deepening of the single market. We have, and this is a big success, the single market in a lot of sectors, but still insufficiently strong. And a lot of you still have to deal with 27 regulations. The deepening of the single market is the most efficient simplification, is how to clearly for you, from the digital sector to agriculture or steel and so on, be sure that the domestic market for Europeans, a domestic market of 450 million inhabitants, is really the European one and the EU one. And in parallel, we want to launch a single market approach on telco, energy and finance, because these three sectors were excluded at the very beginning when we designed the single market agenda. And this is one of the reasons in telco especially that we invest less than in the US, and it's a key driver of innovation. And it's one of the reasons that in energy we are clearly much more expensive than a lot of other continents. And in finance, this is one of the reasons of this paradox. When you look at Europe, we are the continent with one of the highest level of savings, but these savings are almost not invested in equity and innovation on our own soil. Because we are clearly financed through banks and insurance, and post-financial crisis, we put regulations that all the others didn't put in place, even those sometimes who created the crisis for the equivalent, Basel and solvency, and de facto, the balance sheet is not used for equity and innovation. So simplification, securitization program, which are on the table, but as well capital market union in order to be sure that you have an efficient capital structure with big players investing these savings on the European soil. It's very important in our agenda because on top of simplification and deepening of the single market, the third thing the Europeans do need is more investment. We have to invest much more on AI, green tech, defense and security especially because this is a race. And on these fields there is clearly a shortage of both public and private investment. So this is why we push very hard in order to review the scale of the European budget, because just dealing with a stated approach could fragment the European single market for good reasons. So we need a quote-to-quote federal investment, so a bigger budget. But in parallel, we have to create this capital market union to have much more private investment on these key sectors. And the last point is about protection. This word was absent and was almost forbidden in this type of discussion. But let's be clear. If we speak about having a level playing field,